It's your girl, Kimmy Changa. It's a video like today's video that is very infuriating. Keon Harold, an award-winning trumpeter, and his son were recently attacked at an Arlo hotel in New York 4 days ago, Christmas weekend. They were leaving their room at the hotel as guests of the hotel and came down to the lobby to go get breakfast, and a random woman off of the street entered the hotel and accosted them and accused them, the young son, of stealing her iPhone. Now, you would think at this point, this random woman who was not a guest, who was loud and belligerent and just crazed, would be escorted off the premises or have security called or have the police called to come and get her. That is not what happened. In fact, the manager on call at that time enabled her racist accusation and actually asked the young son to show his phone. Keon Harold, the father, rightfully so, called the manager out for being disrespectful, for being in the wrong and not helping the situation, actually taking part in escalating the situation. So this woman, at one point, you actually see her put her hand on this manager's shoulder and what looks like, she's almost whispering in his ear to like help her, as though she's the victim of this erratic accusation. So the manager proceeds to ask the young son for his phone. So Keon and his son try and leave the situation, just go back up to their room as the guests that they are. And she is allowed to get close to them, closer and closer, until the point that she literally puts her hands on them. There's a video after the incident, the attack, that Keon shows the damage to his hands, which is literally, what he uses for his work, that are just cut up and slashed from this woman just scratching him with her nails. And she also attacked this young son. So now they're both traumatized, and this young son has to now deal with the fact that he was accused of something he didn't do, that was just out of the blue. No one believing him, no one in the vicinity standing up for them. So they have to stand up for themselves. And if the father hadn't been there, even the son admitted he doesn't know what he would have done. So I'm thankful that Keon Sr. was there. But the fact that anyone enabled this or was emboldened by her behavior to then accuse them as well and not protect them, actual guests, shows you the state and the reality of what Black people are dealing with on a daily. So they were physically attacked, and this woman, an Uber driver, came like an hour later or so and returned her phone. So she had probably just left it in a car in whatever state she was in. She was allowed to leave. No police took her. She wasn't charged at that time or anything. So the hotel put out a BS statement, basically defending the manager at this time, that he did his due diligence in calling the police on this woman. But the proof is in the video pudding that none of that took place, and that he was part of the problem, and he escalated the situation instead of trying to have her removed from the premises or treating his guest as guest and keeping them safe, as I imagine it's in their whole little statement, what they stand for. So there is a petition on Keon's Instagram if you want to go and sign that to make sure that she's charged. But the police have said that they have identified her as a California resident. But Chief of Detectives Rodney Harrison said, even after seeing this video, that they are not looking at this as a racist attack or having any bias whatsoever. Any person, I would think, with two eyes that sees that and sees how pretty much everyone in the vicinity of that attack took her side, I don't see how you could see that as not a racist attack. Two Black individuals suddenly became the target of a senseless accusation of theft, and no one sided with them. I don't see it as anything else other than a racist attack. And one of the things I also want to say is, I know people like to say, Karen attacks or hashtag Karen attacks, but this is more than just Karen. And I think that minimizes the gravity of the situation, that these white women play victim, call the cops, and oftentimes Black people become the targets or the fatalities of police brutality. Like, it's basically sentencing a Black person to death for these white women to call the cops because they become erratic and they become emotional. And as history has shown, they become the victims and they become the believed, and we become the targets. So I just call it a racist maniac, and that's what this woman is. And you can see at one point, there's a zoom in on her face, and her eyes are just bulged out and crazed looking. And as Keon pushed back more, she just got more and more intense and more violent and physical, and no one stepped in to help them. So that's a trauma that is not easy to shake. Keon Jr. is going to have to work with someone, I imagine, for a very long time to get to a place where he is okay. And the fact that being a guest at a hotel or a shopper in a grocery store or any number of things makes us targets simply because of the color of our skin is no way to live. And part of this senselessness is that the Justice Department announced, I think yesterday, that they won't be pursuing charges against the police officers who murdered 12-year-old Tamir Rice. So here was a young Black boy playing with a toy, minding his own business, and he was gunned down by police because they saw him and his skin color as the threat, a threat that had to be put down. How many white children do you see time after time playing with toy guns, playing with hunting rifles and BB guns, and they're left to their own devices to just go on about their business? Because this country is founded on a racism that sees Black people as less than, that saw us as property legally. And now we try and just go on about our business and we're gunned down, or someone lies on us and we're thrown in prison for years. The same crimes white people are just given a slap on the wrist. We're basically thrown under the jail for decades, separated from our families, while then white people then go and alter the stereotype that Black homes are fatherless or broken families. I wonder why, when the school to prison pipeline is fully intact, where you start out young showing us that we have no place in society outside of a jail cell. A statue made in honor of Breonna Taylor was vandalized in an act of racist aggression. So here is Breonna, who is still yet to get justice for her execution by police officers. So those who are working so hard to get that justice made a statue in honor of her memory, of who she was and what she could have been. And someone decided to just vandalize her statue. Why? That's what I don't know. The racism is so ingrained and so evil and so deep that simply the idea that we want to honor a young woman who was murdered is something to just demolish. We can't have hope. We can't have support. We can't have justice. That's no way to live. Yet every day we live that life. It's only yesterday, I believe, that 2 other police officers in the no-knock execution were fired. Not charged, just fired. So the interim chief, I believe, once she's gone, I think she's announced that she doesn't want to stay on permanently. But once she's gone, what's going to happen? Is the next person going to try and reverse that? Bring them back? So one of the things I'm an advocate of is Black people in positions of power in government, just out there rooting for Black people who can help other Black people and the Black, Indigenous, people of color, everyone. But one thing that I'm also a proponent of is that all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And Chief of Detectives Rodney Harrison and DA for the Breonna Taylor killing, Daniel Cameron, are prime examples of that. When you can look at two Black individuals being attacked and being accused with no protection or anything and say, there's no bias involved in that. Or you can see all the details of what happened to Breonna Taylor and basically turn a blind eye to it and not advocate for justice on her behalf, or deny the grand jury the full details and scope of the case so that they can then work to get her some justice under the full spectrum of what I thought was the legal system. Nah, you ain't kinfolk. I don't know what happened. I don't know what you did, who you sold out to. But that's also a battle Black people are fighting. Trying to survive day to day. Those who have lost, trying to gain justice for those who've been taken from them. So I just really want to encourage Black people out there. Because as we see, it doesn't matter if you're in a hotel room or a hotel lobby as a guest, or a grocery store or a movie theater or parking lot. It doesn't matter. We are targets. So however you can, taking self-defense classes, carrying self-defense type equipment like a Kubaton with you, because you never know when something's going to pop off. Just stay vigilant and look out for yourself. Look out for one another. Be mindful of your surroundings. Just be cautious. We shouldn't have to be. This isn't a life to live. But it is the reality. And I just want you all to be safe and healthy. As you've seen, those anti-maskers are literally marching through grocery stores almost daily, protesting mask in the middle of a pandemic. If you don't want to wear a mask, if you want to put yourself in harm's way, you have the right to do so. But needing to march and be out there and yell at those who are wearing masks, you're selfish and idiotic. And I mean, it might be a little intense to say, but like maybe you're a waste of oxygen that right now is tainted with COVID particles. But that's what we're dealing with. Being attacked for wearing a mask and countless other attacks. I just want you all to be safe and keep in mind that these are dangerous times, as they've always been. No year, nothing seems to change that. So just be careful and be vigilant. And as always, justice for Breonna Taylor.